Welcome back to Your 1230, the only podcast where our guests tell their story with the help of 12 questions in just 30 minutes. I'm your host, Mike Salitro, and tonight we are thrilled to be joined by Matt Pezon. Matt and his wife, Anna, buy, renovate, and hold single-family and small multifamily properties for the long term in the greater Lehigh Valley region. They have 3 children under 3 years of age. And Matt has worked for 12 years as a chemical engineer before a recent career change to full-time real estate investing. He completed his master's in international management at IE Business School in Madrid as a Fulbright Scholar in 2013. And since 2014, they have been buying and operating rental properties primarily in Allentown, Pennsylvania. Outside of investing, Matt enjoys maintaining his Spanish language skills, spending time with his family, and playing the guitar and violin. Matt, welcome. We are really excited to be speaking with you.
Mike, it's an honor to be here. Thank you.
Well, thank you. Thank you for saying that. So many places to start. I'm going to go with kind of the obvious one. The transition from chemical engineer to real estate investor. How did that happen? And how was it helpful to have the skills of an engineer beforehand?
Well, it was an overnight transition, 13 years in the making.
Nice.
I graduated from engineering school in 2010. And at the time, my first boss, it was difficult times in the economy. I was lucky to get a job for a big chemical company, and he told me I was the worst employee he ever had, and the company should get rid of me. And
Okay.
at that point, I knew that I need to find entrepreneurship or find something else. And so I went to business school. I did a Fulbright scholarship, and I learned about business. And at that point, I started buying houses. It was 2014, and one house at a time. That's what I did, and I side hustled for about 10 years and used my skills in my chemical engineering profession, a lot of the rules and some of the analysis and different things, and transitioned to real estate, just one house at a time.
I like that approach, and I'm certainly going to ask you about all that. But I do feel obligated to ask, and hopefully it doesn't bring up too many bad stories or memories. But what made you the worst employee that your manager or boss had ever witnessed before?
Well, so there it was. We were building servers basically and putting them out in pipelines. And as a chemical engineer, that's not really something in my core competency. It's more like an IT type role. And there were no processes, no documentation, no procedures, part of which now I'm a little bit obsessive about that for my employees because I don't want them to go through what I went through. And there were very few instructions. It was sink or swim. And fortunately, I sunk. It was hard at the time because it opened up my eyes to other opportunities, which I'm pursuing today.
I love the attitude, and I want to tie that together just as kind of as you have with that experience, and then being able to see firsthand, wow, if this was documented or there was a system for this, it'd probably be a lot easier for the people executing. So you've done that for your employees. How important was it for you when building out your team? Because this has been, as you said, 13 years in the making, to have kind of a better experience for them than you had, knowing that there's going to be difficulties because it's a real estate investing is not easy, to have those things ready to go, built out, and have a process for them to follow.
Oh yeah, it's critical because as I was building my team, I realized I have a lot of knowledge in my head, but that doesn't help the rest of the team. So I needed to get it on paper, create training videos, checklists, defining what done means, and creating procedures and workflows. So once things could get out of my head and onto paper, it's something tangible for an employee. Just having them ask me questions, explain in words. First of all, many people don't learn through their ears and through hearing things. They either learn kinesthetically for doing things or seeing things. So it was really important to get things down on paper. And so that's what I do for my team. I really try to hit all the sense points. I do trainings with the team. I create process maps, written documents, and videos with explanations.
I really, really like that. And I'm going to steal the get the information out of your head because it's not helping your folks. Because but generally, if you're talking systems, process, workflows, especially the real estate folks, they're will at best smile, usually roll their eyes and want to change the topic because they don't
Yeah.
want to talk about those activities. So if you position it as I have things that I can only share through this mechanism, it becomes valuable to both of you. So I really like how you kind of have done that for your team. Going backwards, what came first, Spanish or studying in Spain? How did you get there?
Spanish came first. I did a degree in college, and I studied Spanish and literature and things, and I studied abroad. And that's when I decided that I wanted to go to Spain, and I went there and studied abroad. So um, yeah, Spanish came first. Yeah.
Okay. And you, as part of your list of things you like to do outside of investing, is still Spanish. How do you stay sharp?
I read books to my kids now, but that of course has some limited vocabulary. But I call my friends, back in Spain and really all over the world. Friends in Mexico, Guatemala, and just stay in touch and watch different things online and stuff like that, just to keep myself sharp.
Okay. Very nice.
Yeah.
And getting into the real estate investing piece, kind of taking it part by part, investing in single family and small multifamily. How did you determine that was the type of property class that you wanted to focus on?
Well, at first, it was all I could afford. So I could afford a down payment on a single family home. At a certain point, after purchasing so many single family homes, I decided that I was very comfortable in that space. And rather than there has been, now it's changing with rates and different things, but there's been so much competition in the larger multifamily space, institutional investors, lots of money chasing these deals, and a lot of the deals that I was looking at weren't penciling out. But the single families that I kept finding at a good discount that needed work, they just made sense to me. So rather than trying to scale up in apartments, I just scaled up how many single families I was buying. So I did achieve some of that hockey stick growth that a lot of the investors look for, but it wasn't by buying 150 unit property. It was by buying 50 single family homes at a steep discount. So that's what I chose to do.
So if you could just walk us through two pieces of it. One, the steep discount, how were you able to locate properties that were either undervalued or underpriced? And then two, for these arrangements to work, generally the lead investor or the person in your shoes has a skill that others don't, or an intangible value that you bring to a deal. So what is that for you, and how are you able to source these deals?
Right. So I go direct to seller. I send a lot of mailers. We do ads online. Our website, people find us by searching our keywords, finding our website, and relationships. So a lot of the deals are, for almost all of them, are off market deals. And our value proposition really is that there's no agent commissions, fees, anything like that, 6, 7, 8%. The sellers aren't required to do repairs, so they don't have to come out of their pocket with cash. We deal with tenant situations. We deal with properties that are really beat up. It's a turnkey solution for the seller, and it's not for everyone, but we solve problem properties, and we solve situations for sellers that they might not want to deal with, and we just cast a wide net, find the sellers, and close the deals.
Very nice. And how how will, I guess, the how to you've described, but what type of situations are these sellers looking at, or how can you identify that this type of either market or this type of property owner might be somebody we should talk to?
Yep. So over the years, we've added more and more. Initially, I was just sending letters. I was handwriting letters to landlords
Okay.
by myself. I wrote like 5 or 600. But since that time, we have gotten pretty sophisticated. For about 15 counties surrounding us, we know how to search the county records, and it's all public information. It's not proprietary or list buying. I have a team of people that go directly to the public records, and they'll search for IRS tax liens, and then they'll find out if that person owns a property. Pennsylvania Department of Revenue liens. Does that person own a property? Credit card judgment. Do they own a property? Behind on taxes, behind on mortgage, probate situation, inherited properties. And there's 5 or 7 other categories. And we look in all these county records for those folks, and then we send them letters. It's a little tricky to do, and it's time consuming, but it's the best possible list because the data is real. You're not buying lists from stacking and lists from all over. Oh, we think they're going to be sellers. We know that the person's behind on their mortgage or their taxes. We know it's true. It's right here. So, and then we contact them, and we have different cadences for types of letters that we send for different situations. And it's just been built up that way over 7 or 8 years.
That's a wonderful process that you describe, and I know want to follow up on a couple of things there. First, I know I laugh when you mentioned handwriting 500 to 600 letters, but I think if even from listening to this conversation, that your work ethic and your intelligence kind of just jumps off the page or off the screen here. I think that's clear because for somebody to sit down and do that, you have to be committed. You have to know what to write, and you have to really have something of value to offer to make that worthwhile, and to turn that to where you are now with a providing a turnkey system for somebody who needs to sell, but having the back end or the infrastructure on your side to have the solutions for their problem properties. And that is a process. So I guess what I'm trying to say here is that there's been a lot of things that you have tried, probably perfected, tried, failed, and thrown out. What has been a learning of yours that you try to instill for someone who's working with you or as part of your team?
Oh my gosh, there's so many learnings, and I've made so many mistakes. Contractor management is huge. When you buy a property, the deal can look great on paper, but then you actually have to do the things that you are promising to the seller that you would do. It could be the repairs, or it could be dealing with a difficult situation. So the contractor management piece is always tricky. Making sure that it's project management, the project's done on time, on budget, on schedule, or on schedule, budget, time, quality, all those things, and getting the contractors in line to do what they need to do. I mean, I've lost deposits. I've had contractors uh, mess up projects, not tell me that the oil tank needed a delivery, and then the pipes burst and ruin all the flooring, drinking on the job. I mean, all the things, right? All the mistakes. So um, constant oversight and care is needed, and that's one of the things that we're really trying to dial in now, with a bunch of our contractors, because we're growing, so we need those reliable folks behind us to do the work and make those properties productive again.
So as you describe this, you making it real estate investing sound something that is both attainable but very difficult, because what you're doing is a difficult service to provide. The things are not necessarily hard, but if you're not done properly, it's impossible to turn a profit. Real estate investing is one of those things that people like to say they do or want to get involved in. But if you are not good at it, it becomes apparent, or you can lose a lot of money very quickly in this. Um, so I guess my question here is how have you have the contractors obviously that have had a spotted history as you kind of go through it, but how do you tell someone who might want to get started, or how do you help somebody say, look, you need to know this before you start, or if you want to invest anything in real estate, here's something that you need to walk in with your eyes open?
Oh yeah, well, absolutely. So, real estate is there's so many facets, but for those looking to get started, you really need to start with yourself, and you need to say, what's my personal financial situation? Because a larger deposit is required if you're putting even 5% down at today's prices can be a chunk of change. So, um, you need to look at your credit, your savings, your income, maximizing your income, reducing your expenses to save as much as possible. And then you need to find out, okay, so when I'm ready to buy, where do I want to buy? What market do I want to buy in? And then what type of property do I want to buy? And does that property align with my personal investment philosophy that I have? So there's all these questions. Do I want to buy longer term? Do I want to buy medium term? What do I want to do? And then execute on that plan. But it starts with you, to make sure that you're ready to do this, and that you have the savings, but then also the grit and the resilience, because there are going to be bumps along the road. So it's not an easy business, but it is attainable. It's also not rocket science.
Well, I do not want to minimize, because you do make it sound like, wow, anybody can do this. But the things you are doing is not what I hear a lot of other people who want to get involved, because you're doing the stuff that really needs to get done to be done well, to have this many properties become profitable for you to do it so many times. And you mentioned scaling with a number of properties versus number of doors through a large multifamily property. So that's how you've been able to do it. I've written down a few things that I want to follow up on. The first that you mentioned, knowing when something is done. I like that phrase. How do you explain that, and why is that important? Let's start there.
Oh yes, the definition of done, because it's critical to be clearly explicative with your employees or with your team about this is what, when A, B, C, and D are done, then I consider it done, not A and B. And over the years, I've learned that um, my vision of what done means might not be someone else's. And if I don't tell someone clearly up front what I expect and what my expectations are, if I leave things up to interpretation, it might not be what I want. So you inspect what you expect, and you're clear up front with what you want the result to be. And then there's no gray area. There's no guessing.
And that's wonderful advice. And I think even the inverse of that is true. That if you don't have it clear, here's the walk away, or here's when it's okay to be to move on to the next thing, you might have either a perfectionist or somebody who's nervous to do that next thing, where it's like, I'm gonna just keep doing that, I'm gonna keep mopping the same spot on the floor unless someone tells me to do something else. So I think it's really good to establish that and have those expectations very clear to say, here's where we need to be for either side. So thank you for walking us
Yeah.
through that. And then the other thing I not noted here is not buying leads, that you're working with public information, that you have the ability to go through large amounts of data, identify what's important to you and how it fits into the system. I do strongly believe that there are very few, if any, small businesses as you run this that can rely on purchasing leads. So how in your system identifying what worked for you, for someone who's looking to either get started in real estate investing or any kind of side hustle, how can they determine what types of leads would work for their business, or what types of things should they look for to say, okay, this can work for me, as opposed to I'm just going to go, buy a list off Google?
Yeah, right. So, I mean, it depends what the budget is. I mean, I am a fan of digital marketing, not necessarily purchasing leads that come through like SEO vendors, but Google Ads is good. I use that, Facebook ads, but I didn't start there. So it really comes down to, are you looking for distress? Are you looking to send letters out, or are you looking for people to come to you? So for some of the ads that I do, it's a lot of the inbound marketing. But I had initial success with the outbound and reaching out to people that were in some of the situations I mentioned, where they inherited a property, or they were behind on their taxes or behind on the mortgage. Just knowing who those folks are, it's fairly quick, easy, and inexpensive to find this information if you dig. And then you can really start getting rolling by you could even handwrite letters and send them to those folks, which is what I started to do a little bit after the landlords that I was mailing to. So it really depends upon what you're set up to do, and what your skill set is as a newer investor. I didn't know anything about digital and online marketing, and all that stuff I learned in the last year or two. So I was just doing it the old fashioned way and just sending out letters. So, but maybe your listeners are a lot smarter than I was when I got started. So I was just sending letters, like handwriting stuff. So with information online.
So that's you're very humble as you walk as you walk through this. So thank you for that. I'm sure that there's plenty of sophistication, especially with the engineering background, into lots of the things that you built. But you mentioned using kind of a side hustle or doing this not primarily. There's lots of people that I come across, I'm sure with you, that are not in love with what they're doing day to day and are starting something or thinking of starting something. Is there a first step, or is there an A/B test that they can do that you say, well, this worked for me, or this is something I wish I had tried first, that they can maybe try tomorrow to get them to a place that they want to be working for themselves or have a small business on the side?
Yeah, real estate specifically, folks generally either own their home or rent. So you can kind of get a sense. Folks generally have an idea of, would I want to tolerate this, or would I not want to tolerate this, real estate specifically. Now, as far as small business and entrepreneurship, I would recommend taking some courses first. What really opened up my eyes to entrepreneurship and creating businesses was, I did a master's degree, which not everyone is just going to go out and do, but there are local community groups that have business pitches. There's meetups. There's different things that you can go online on YouTube. It's the great teacher of our time, right? And you can take some of these free courses and really get a sense of, okay, does this type of a business, or just doing business, creating a business, is that something that I want to do? So I would just recommend doing thorough research in the area of business that you'd like. And if you don't know, just checking out YouTube videos and going to different meetups with business leaders and talking to them. Get a cup of coffee, offer to grab lunch, and just pick someone's brain and really figure out if what they do is what you want to do. And for a lot of people, the answer is no, and that's okay. And for a lot of people, it's yes, but if it's this type of business. And I knew that I wanted to get into business. I didn't know what type until I thought about a whole bunch of different opportunities. You should just ask my wife. I said 10 different things and we decided on real estate. So, yep.
You're spot on that. Getting started is the most important piece. And then first part there sometimes is talking to somebody who is one step, two step, 10 steps ahead, or doing that thing, saying, hey, what is that like? And most people will take you up on that as long as you're not too strange or too
Yeah.
out of left field with that. But I'm glad you mentioned your wife, because that's kind of where I want to end. You started there, that you worked together in this venture. Was that always the plan, or how did that start?
So we met, and I had just come back from Spain. We met here in the States, just through our college friends. And I was looking to get into real estate, and she was very supportive the whole time of going to early morning breakfasts. I was involved in an investor group, and we'd go around at the time looking at foreclosures that they don't really exist anymore today. And she was very supportive, and we would go out on weekends painting and doing renovations. We renovated 3 apartments, nothing major, paint and some minor things, cleanups, and she was just always very supportive. And we knew, we saw just working together, physically painting, that hey, we could probably make something of this. We knew we didn't want to be painting forever, but just having that opportunity, that experience to work side by side and do different things in the houses together made us realize, like, hey, we could make this work, both for the houses and, hey, look, with each other, right? Because we both saw the potential in the business.
That's a good origin story to kind of start there and then and build up, and then have what you guys have been able to accomplish together. It's really great. The other piece of the family is that there are small children. How
Right.
working together with a time intensive, or at least a job that can require a lot of focus and not your traditional 9 to 5, and then having both of you in it, how do you balance what's important for each of you and making sure that what needs to get done with work does get done with work?
Well, balance is the key, because it's a constant balance. It's not just every day doing the same thing. If the kids need more attention, at a certain point, maybe I need to sign out earlier, but then I can come back on later. So it's just a constant balance, and specializing as well, because my wife spends a lot of the time with the kids. I spend the time during the day in the office, but then we come together as a family in the evening. So it's important to get all of the needs met as effectively as possible. And we implement things. I work from home, for example, so I don't have a commute, so I can save time there. I have an assistant who helps me respond to emails, so I don't get stuck doing that late at night. So all these kind of like I don't like the word hack, but a lot of these kind of time savers that we can implement, we try to, so that we can maximize the time that we're together and reduce some of the low value work, so that we can maximize the time as a family and doing the highest value tasks in the business.
And that's the thing right there, is understand where your time is best spent, do those things, figure out what you can get off your plate, and delegate where you can. Love it.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah,
where
it's
can I,
the small hinges swing the big doors, right? So you have to know what the small hinge is that will swing the whole door, so that you can maximize your leverage.
going to steal that as well. Thank you, Matt. Where can our listeners find you, or connect with you to learn more?
Yeah, sure. So my website, pezonproperties.com. You can fill out our form there. You could put in 123 Main Street and just say that you found me on the show, and happy to schedule a call, meet with anyone who's looking to get started. And frankly, just encourage folks that are in their 9 to 5 who have big dreams and aspirations. They want more, and they think real estate can get them there. I'm happy to talk to them.
Awesome. So we will post that for sure. I am good at jumping around and sometimes leaving obvious questions on the table. Is there anything I didn't ask you that I probably should have?
Um, I don't think so. I think you covered a lot there. So I really appreciate the opportunity to be on your show, and hopefully the listeners got value.
I'm sure they have, and I will take that. So thank you for the for the kind words, Matt. This has been a blast. I look forward to doing it again, and I wish you nothing but the best and continued success.
Thanks again, Mike. I appreciate it.